Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. It's Ren here, you know who it is. I'm welcoming you in a slightly different space at the moment, where I will be making videos probably for about a month. Not necessarily always in this space, but you might want to familiarize yourself with this environment, which I have not particularly made colorful, but I tried a little bit. So in this video, I would like to talk to you about the distinction between Fi and Fe. Again, from the perspective not of the technical descriptions that you can already see online, but rather more in terms of the experience of it as I can sort of testify to it in my own life. So as you know, I'm an INFJ, so I'm an Fe user. My brother is an INFP. Some of you might have met him recently in one of my last videos. He's an INFP, Fi dominant. Now, I also have a stepbrother who is an ENFP. And in fact, we discovered his type together, we identified his type together during the holidays that just passed. I'm not surprised that he got ENFP, and he seems to have resonated with it very much. And no earlier than 2 days ago at the New Year's Eve party that I went to, my brother was there and my stepbrother was there also. And we were chatting, you know, being an ENFP, my stepbrother is currently going through the phase of like exploring a lot about MBTI and jokingly says that he'll probably be bored of it in 2 weeks' time, but we'll see about that. But in any case, I had a very interesting exchange with my stepbrother about something which is going to constitute the basis of this video. Now, the story or the conversation that we had was about my dad. And I mentioned before, I think, that my dad is an ENFJ and he's a very, very Fe dominant type. Like, my dad has an Fe that is so present and so dominant that it can be overwhelming at times. If you're an introvert, or if you are someone like my stepbrother who's not an introvert, but you know, the ENFPs, sometimes they're called the most introverted extroverts. And I think that could be for a reason, because they're Fi users, first of all, and they're people who like to be alone. They need more alone. In general, an ENFP needs more alone time than an ESFJ or an ENFJ. Sometimes they can be doing outdoorsy things, but they like to do them alone, like sometimes, not all the time. So they need alone time. They need to be alone more often than ENFJs, I think. But anyway, we're discussing my dad, and we ended up talking about Fe versus Fi. And why is my dad so relevant to this discussion is that, you know, I'm his son, my brother is his son, and my stepbrother is his stepson, or his former stepson. And all three of us have, at one point or another, rebelled against the overwhelming Fe dominance of my dad. But we've dealt with it in different ways. And this is where the distinction, I think, is interesting and may, through this particular example, cast light on the difference between Fe and Fi. A difference that may allow you to experience what it means organically. And so therefore give you an insight into it that is not theoretical, but that may, if you're still in doubt as to what it is, that difference, may allow you to sort of experience it encounter it in an intimate fashion that may stick to you. At least it stuck to me in that kind of way also at the time when I finally understood the difference properly. We were discussing my dad, and just broadly speaking, I'm on very good terms with my dad. I saw him a lot during the holidays. We get on really well. My stepbrother gets on with my dad and loves my dad, but they go through periods of like not really talking or having big fights, or used to when my stepbrother was a bit younger. As for my brother is not really talking much to my dad. He finds him literally too overwhelming, too suffocating. The Fe of my dad is such that when he cares about you, and he cares a lot about people, and he is so helpful and so altruistic, and he always wants to be there, that he, from the point of view of an introvert, or even from the point of view of an ENFP who likes alone time and likes independence, my dad just is going to come across suffocating, because we don't want him to be always there wanting to help us or making us feel like, you know, he makes the decisions for us. He's trying to direct us in a way. He doesn't experience it as wanting to direct us. For him, it's very natural. And because it's an Fe function, he feels like it's an altruistic function that we're always going to welcome, because for him, it's always with the intention to help us, to be of support. Whereas sometimes we just don't want support. We just want to be by ourselves. Sometimes we may even think that it's a bit infantilizing to have that presence constantly, just texting, or, you know, if you let him, he'd text you, be like, oh, so how's it going at work? And, you know, and always asking questions, and especially when you're a young man in your 20s, let's say, like, that's the last thing you want. Of course, there are times when you're going through a rough patch, and that is precisely what you need, and my dad will be there for you all the time, and he will never not be there. You know, very reliable, he's an Enneagram 2, if you like, but Enneagram 2, but 8, I think, 285 or something like that. So pretty, you know, dominant, overwhelming at times Fe presence. Now, it's interesting to try to look into why I'm the one who's on the best terms with him, in a way. After that, there's my ENFP stepbrother, and lastly, my INFP brother, who does not get on with him at all, basically, and rather tries to avoid him, unfortunately. Hopefully that will be resolved in the future. Now, of course, the reasons why these different sort of types of relationships have unfolded in that way go much beyond the typology question. They go into the particular recesses and alcoves of the past shared between the different people that I mentioned. Nevertheless, I think that there might be a bit of space for the exploration of the influence that Fe and Fi have here. And what did I say to my stepbrother when we were discussing my dad? I said to him literally, I said, contrary to what you think, ENFP stepbrother, I don't get on with my dad because because I'm an Fe user, or because I'm his son or whatever. Like, the way he is, I find easier to deal with, that it's more natural for me to just get on with him. I said it's just as hard, if not harder for me, because I'm an introvert and I need so much alone time. My dad is always present, always there to help, and sometimes I'm like, just leave me alone. But I said to my stepbrother, I said, with the help of Fe, maybe I can do things, I can talk to my dad in such a way that that's going to help me maintain a good relationship with him, because I'm going to be able to express myself with him while sort of preserving his feelings, his emotions, not hurt him. And at the same time, assert my independence. So whereas Cedric would just Cedric is my ENFP stepbrother, because he uses Fi, he doesn't really manage to naturally always express how he feels to my dad about the detail of what my dad makes him feel like when he's feeling overwhelmed or suffocated by my dad's care. And that's even worse in the case of my brother. My brother is like almost incapable of expressing it to my dad because he's feeling overwhelmed by the Fe all the time. And he feels like an incomprehension, mutual incomprehension between Fe and Fi in this case. And he's like, He feels like my dad lives his feelings so externally that there's no way he's going to understand the Fi complexity of my brother's own feelings. Whereas for me, it's not so hard because I can express how I feel rather easily if I feel like it's going to be useful. So instead of not saying anything to my dad, and because I use Fe, I can also use, not flattery, but I can couch my words in certain phrasings that may ring like they lack authenticity to a Fi user, whereas for me it has nothing to do with authenticity. It has to do with just preserving the relation between two people, so it's externalized. And so what do I say? Instead of trying to avoid my dad like my brother does, instead of letting frustration like sort of build inside until it explodes and into arguments like my ENFP stepbrother does, I talk to my dad straight away. So with Fe, I tell him, Dad. You know what I tell my dad? When my dad says, come to my place, you can stay for as long as you want, you can bring your girlfriends, you can have the whole upstairs part of my house to you, and and when I just need space, I say it to my dad. But the Fe comes very handy because I say to my dad, and this is what I say to him literally, and this is what I said to Cedric, to my ENFP brother. I said, Dad, you know I love you. But you also know that if I stay with you for more than 48 hours, we're going to kill each other because we're going to be on each other's shoes, and you know that sometimes I need a lot of space, and you are also, I appreciate that you're always there for me, but sometimes I just need a lot of space, and it's better for me if I'm not in the same house, so I'm happy to come, and I really, really treasure sharing time with you, but please also appreciate that, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's much easier for an Fe user to say, because you express emotion. I express how I feel, because I'm able to tell my dad, I love you, I love spending time with you, blah, blah, blah. An Fi user, it's not going to be as easy for them to just express it, whereas I express it naturally. And not only is it true that I love my dad, but I'm also able, in certain circumstances, to make the in a way, not to sound cynical, but the pill easier to swallow. I'm able to exaggerate it a little bit. Not exaggerate the feelings, but just how I phrase it. I say, I love spending time with you. I appreciate it. Because I know that my dad, also being an Fe user, is going to appreciate that. And that's going to help him. In a way, it's going to help him stomach the fact that I also told him I cannot stay for more than a few days. And that's why. So I assert my independence while telling my dad I appreciate what he does. Because it's easy for me to tell him that I appreciate him as a person. But I also tell him why, in a truthful fashion, why I decide to, not stay for as long as he would like. And in a way, that's more authentic. You could say that it's less authentic because I carefully tailor my message, and that's in a typical Fe manner, to have the desired effect with my dad. But the consequence is that that he understands that I need my own space, but at the same time, I've also told him how I felt. You could say I sugarcoated it, but I still said it. Whereas my brother Cedric, he will not say it. Supposedly because, it's not supposedly, because it is actually hard for him to express it with Fi, whether it's seeming shallow or whatever. But in the process, it also means that he never really expresses it, and only expresses it when he gets angry. And my dad might say, well, first of all, when he gets angry, he will express it in a way that's not exactly how he would have liked to phrase it, because he's influenced by his emotion, by his anger, but also, you could say, it's at least an Fe user could say, for all the supposed lack of authenticity of Fe sometimes, there's a certain authentic merit in expressing how you feel, not when you get angry because you're in the burst of anger and you just let things out, but when you're calm, you face the other person, but you know that you can use the arms of the weapon, weapon is a too bellicose a word for what I would like to express, but at least you can express how you feel also in a positive way. You can express the breadth of how you feel. And so the other person is going to get the breadth of that, the complexity of that, and is not going to take it personally. The Fe user dominant, say my dad, is not going to take it personally because I express to him the whole thing that I feel. And I make sure to express the truth, but also the positive sides to him that I appreciate and that he's going to focus on in the end, and he's not going to feel questioned by my decision, because I also emphasize that, because it's easier for me as an Fe user to express it. And I think that contributes to my relationship with it. Okay, guys, let me know what you think, and I will see you very soon. Ciao.